up on Look What I Did.
Building a brand new house around a log cabin as old as the Civil War. And it's not just a fence, it's a hand-built work of art made of steel, plastic, and a father's TLC. Plus, the staircase that proves copper piping isn't just for plumbing anymore. Next.
If you live next to a street, you might have a fence to protect your home from traffic and prying eyes. Well, if you're tired of picket fences and can't stand chain link, then grab some steel and a couple power tools and get inspired by what this dad did.
Hi, I'm Michael Antenora, and I live in Austin, Texas. I live on a busy street, so I designed a courtyard so we had some privacy from the noise and safe places for my kids to play. I didn't want just a fence. I wanted something that was really going to break down the form of the house, which is very long, and give us something really interesting at the center of the house. So what I created here was more of a gate. It's a trellis, it's a pergola, and it's a nice composition on the outside of the house. As I started the remodel for the house, I noticed that the house had some craftsman style and bungalow style details and scale. So I picked up on that, and then further still picked up on one of the influences for the bungalow style, which was Japanese architecture, which led us to this, which is essentially a large abstraction of a Japanese tea lantern. Now, the way that this is all put together is really quite simple. We have redwood frame, we've got 1 inch by 2 inch by 1/8 inch steel frames, which I welded. I've got the cast acrylic, and then I have the overall door frame. Working with steel as a material is actually a lot of fun. It's something I'm not that familiar with. I'm kind of learning as I go. I cut the steel on a chop saw that I found at a flea market, and then gradually just went through and welded each piece together. I'm not a welder, so after we put it together, some of those were less than perfect, so took a grinder, smoothed things out, which made it much easier down the road to paint. After I constructed the frame, I drilled the holes for all the bolts. As I was drilling, I made sure I used a lot of oil so that I didn't burn the steel or burn the bits. One of the other challenges of the project was I did most of this work myself, and I had to figure out ways to where I could put things in place with one pair of hands. So what I did was I took a piece of wood and I clamped it to the bottom of the door or bottom of the beam that I was placing the frame on, and I lined it up and put a line there that was essentially the level that I had to put it at, and I just used that as a little shelf, and then I could tilt it up into place and I could do it all with one hand. A very important part of this project was to understand that I have 3 very, very different materials. Each of those materials expands and contracts at very different rates given heat or cold. So in doing that, I had to make sure that I allowed for some of these materials to slide past each other and move at different rates. After I constructed the wood frame, I came back and fabricated each of these panels individually and then installed them individually. I cut the acrylic with a special blade, which allowed me to make a very smooth cut without chipping. I left the paper on as I did that when drilling and when cutting, because that reduces all the damage to it. Attaching the panels was a little bit of an invention. I knew that I had to let these things slide, so I found some nylon washers that were essentially plumbing washers and some regular carriage bolts and put it together in a way that allows those panels to slide very easily. The acrylic is a cast acrylic, and the significance of that is this is made to be an exterior material. It lasts long, it will not fade, and I've got it in the color that I wanted it. It's really worked out well. My kids can come out here and play. We don't have any worries about them getting out or anyone coming in here. It's got some privacy. The courtyard took me roughly 3 weeks. I did it over the course of 3 weekends. The materials cost less than $2,000, and I think it took me about 30 hours worth of work. The best part is the way that my kids interact with it. They love this space. They go out into the courtyard, they eat their lunch, they go out there and draw. They really, really love this house.